Hi, welcome to today's lesson. Today's learning target is I can use the lowest common denominator method to add and subtract unlike fractions, especially when one denominator is a multiple of the other. Today's lesson is all about review and practice. So let's look at two examples. Here's our first, 2/3 plus 1/6. Well, as always, from now on, we're always going to begin by asking ourselves the same question. Is one denominator a multiple of the other? And in fact, yes, 6, the larger denominator is a multiple of 3. So in that case, we can go ahead and just copy down the 1/6. And all we're left with is finding an equivalent fraction for 2/3. So let's ask ourselves, what do we multiply 3 by to get to 6? And the answer is 2. 2 times 3 is 6. And to find an equivalent fraction, we have to multiply the top number by the same. So 2 times 2 is 4. And now we're left with 2 equivalent fractions that share the same denominator. Let's add numerators. 4/6 plus 1/6 equals 5/6. Let's check to make sure that's in simplest form. Yup, it is. And we're done. All right, let's go on to our second and final example for today. Here we have 4/6 minus 3/8. What's the first question we're going to ask ourselves? That's right. Is one denominator a multiple of the other? And in fact, the answer in this case is no. 8, the larger denominator, is not a multiple of 6. In other words, 6 times nothing is going to get you to 8 unless you use a decimal number. Okay, so we have to go back to our first strategy for finding the lowest common denominator, and that is to find the lowest common multiple. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's set up a table, shall we? Yeah, I guess that's an okay spot. And really quickly, we'll come up with some multiples of 6 and 8, okay? I'm going to put 6 in this column. I'll put 8 in that column. And we'll do times 1 and times 2 times 3 and times 4 times 5. And let's see if that's enough, okay? So 6 times 1 is 6. And 8 times 1 is 8. 6 times 2 is 12. And 8 times 2 is 16. 6 times 3 is 18. And 8 times 3 is 24. And 6 times 4 is 24. Oh, there we go. We have it. We found our lowest common multiple, and that is 24. Do you remember what we need to do next? Yes, you're right. We need to focus on what we multiplied by in order to get that multiple, that lowest common multiple. So we multiplied 6 times 4, which means we'll multiply the 4 6 times 4. And we multiplied the 8 times 3 right here. So we'll multiply the 3/8 each by 3. And that will give us our equivalent fractions and common denominators. Let's go ahead and do that. So we have 4 times 4 is 16, and 4 times 6 is 24. And then we're going to subtract. And we have 3 times 3 is 9. And 3 times 8 is 24. We're left with 16 24ths minus 9 24ths. And that gives us 7 24ths. Let's check to see if it's in simplest form. Yup, it is, because 7 is not a factor of 24. And they don't share any common factors because 7's prime. So we're done. That's how we add or subtract, unlike fractions, using the lowest or least common multiple method. Today's learning target is I can use the lowest common denominator method to add and subtract unlike fractions, especially when one denominator is a multiple of the other. Let's get to work. Let me know if you need help.